On August 31st, 1979, a peaceful late summer day, John Busby was preparing for his night shift as a police officer. Just minutes after leaving home, his life and the lives of his family would be changed forever. A car began to follow him, and in an instant, the sound of gunfire echoed through the night. John was shot through the driver's side window, suffering severe injuries. In the moments that followed, chaos ensued, not just for John, but for his family waiting anxiously at home. In his final moments before losing consciousness, John managed to write a desperate message to his close friends. "Polly and the kids are not safe." This was the beginning of a tense investigation filled with emotional turmoil, which we will explore in detail throughout this story. To understand the case better, we need to rewind time and return to the peaceful life of the Busby family before the tragedy struck. John Busby was not only a police officer but also a devoted husband and father. He lived with his wife, Polly, and their 3 children, Eric, Sean, and their youngest daughter. Their family life was filled with laughter, joyful evenings spent together, and cherished memories at Old Silver Beach. Every summer day, John would take his children out to play in the cool waters, creating moments of happiness that only family can share. Polly was studying to become a nurse, and they lived in a small but cozy home. The close bond among family members was evident through shared meals, evenings spent watching television, and storytelling sessions. However, this perfect life couldn't last forever. John's job in law enforcement not only brought him pride but also posed significant dangers. He had several confrontations with criminals, particularly with Melvin Rainey, a notorious figure in the area. The tense interactions and threats in his line of work began to take a toll on John, causing him to worry not only for his safety but also for that of his family. Few knew that, despite their outwardly peaceful life, John felt pressure from lurking enemies. Many nights, while everyone else was asleep, he would lie awake, contemplating his work and the individuals he might have angered. This anxiety often forced him to consider ways to protect his family, especially as he received information about threats from local gangs. His fear escalated when John realized Rainey might be watching him. Occasionally, he felt as though someone was silently stalking him, preventing him from fully relaxing during those precious family moments. The stress from his job seemed to seep into every corner of family life, leaving each member feeling heavy with unease. This backdrop set the stage for the tragedy that would unfold on the night of August 31st, when all those fears finally became a horrifying reality. That night, no one could have imagined that disaster would strike. John left home around 10 p.m., preparing for his night shift. Streetlights illuminated the quiet road ahead. He felt calm, as he did on all previous nights. But just a few minutes after departing, an unexpected vehicle appeared behind him. As the car closed in, John sensed something was wrong. He pressed the gas pedal, trying to outrun the vehicle, but suddenly, a gunshot rang out. The bullet tore through the driver's side window, leaving John bleeding and battered. This shocking scene was captured by nearby security cameras, providing a haunting video that would later serve as crucial evidence in the investigation. In those final moments before slipping into unconsciousness, John hastily scrawled a note to his friends. The image of him slumped in the driver's seat, in excruciating pain yet fighting for survival, is one of the most heartbreaking visuals imaginable. He understood that his life might soon end, but his concern for his family's safety compelled him to record what mattered most. When police arrived at the scene, they found John's Volkswagen riddled with bullet holes. The chaos of the situation sent shivers down the spines of all present. Ambulances were called urgently, their sirens blaring like a warning of the turmoil that loomed. Once at the hospital, John was rushed into emergency care. Despite the medical team's best efforts, his condition was dire. With every passing minute, his family's anxiety grew. Calls from medical personnel and police made their hearts feel as if they might stop beating. Upon hearing that her husband had been shot, Polly collapsed. She couldn't fathom a life without John, the man who had always been her rock and the father to their children. Those moments were excruciatingly tense as doctors continually entered and exited the trauma room, and Polly could do nothing but pray. The medical staff did everything they could, but John's injuries were so severe that no one could guarantee anything. The sounds of crying, panic, and the flickering lights of the ambulance painted a dark picture of life's brutality. Things became even more chaotic as police began searching for evidence at the scene. They needed to quickly identify the assailant to protect the Busby family from potential future threats. Information from witnesses became crucial. The frantic 911 calls were recorded, capturing the panicked voice of Polly. "My husband has been shot, please hurry." The tension wasn't just among the medical staff, it engulfed the family as well. They couldn't calm themselves, only waiting anxiously for news, feeling helpless and afraid. After the attack, the Busby family's life changed completely. They lost not only their peace, but also had to live in constant anxiety and fear. Police were stationed at their home 24/7, marking the beginning of a new life filled with tension. Officers stood guard outside, guard dogs were deployed, and alarm systems were installed around the property. Every night, the family struggled to sleep. Eric and Sean, once carefree children who only knew laughter and games, now lived with persistent anxiety. They frequently heard strange noises outside their window, sounds that made them feel as if someone was lurking nearby. Tales of the attacker circulated in school, and their friends began to distance themselves, fearful that the danger would extend to them as well. Repeated 911 calls reflected the family's turmoil. "Please help us! Someone is trying to break into our house!" Polly's trembling voice was interspersed with sobs, creating an eerie atmosphere. The tension in her tone sent chills through anyone who heard it. During those long nights, when everything became eerily quiet, Polly would often sit by the window, peering outside with fear and concern. She knew that life for her and her children could never return to normal until the assailant was caught. She felt as if she were living in a horror movie where anything could happen. Every sound outside made her heart race, and dreams of a peaceful life seemed to vanish. Her children could hardly bear the weight of their anxiety. Eric and Sean often confided in each other about their fears and the guilt they felt for not being able to protect their father. They frequently wondered if the attacker would return. The 24/7 police protection did little to ease the family's fears. Even with officers stationed outside, they felt trapped in a confined space, unable to go out or do anything normal. The psychological toll on everyone was profound. Polly, John's wife, tried to create a sense of normalcy for the kids, but reality simply wouldn't allow it. Family meals no longer carried the laughter and joy they once did. They were now filled with heavy silence. At one point, Polly had to declare, "I don't know what will happen next, but I will always be here for you kids." Her loving words weren't enough to dispel the fear, but they did provide some comfort, reminding the children they were not alone in this fight. The investigation into John Busby's shooting quickly commenced. Investigators focused on gathering clues, but the complexity of the case presented numerous challenges. Melvin Rainey, a man with a notorious reputation and a lengthy criminal history, soon emerged as the primary suspect. Information about Rainey was uncovered throughout the investigation. He had a long history of causing trouble and threatening those around him. John had clashed with Rainey on multiple occasions during his duty, which escalated the Busby family's fears. Conversations between John and his colleagues revealed the increasing tension surrounding Rainey. Interviews with neighbors also provided valuable insight. They recalled loud arguments and instances of seeing Rainey in the area before the shooting. The image of a man poised to seek revenge became an unshakable nightmare for everyone involved. However, complications arose in gathering evidence. Some witnesses, driven by fear, were reluctant to come forward, creating an air of mystery and causing the investigation to stall. Pressure from the community and media scrutiny forced the police to quickly find a resolution. As the investigation unfolded, the tension between law enforcement and the Busby family intensified. John Busby, even in a critical condition, managed to write a desperate note, "Melvin Rainey." This revelation heightened the urgency for police to locate Rainey and resolve the ongoing uncertainty. Months dragged on, and the investigation yielded little progress. Police held numerous press conferences, hoping to attract public attention. Questions regarding the efficacy of the investigation began to arise, and the Busby family felt as if they were being forgotten in a world preoccupied with other cases. The family's anxiety and frustration mounted. They were not only grieving the loss of their peace, but also living under the cloud of uncertainty, fearing that justice might never be served. In an interview, Polly expressed, "We just want to know the truth. We want justice for John." Her words were not just a plea from a heartbroken wife, but the voice of a community yearning for answers. The determination of law enforcement eventually bore fruit as they uncovered significant leads. The evidence collected at the crime scene was meticulously analyzed. The bullet casings, along with the trajectory of the shots fired, were scrutinized to reconstruct the events of that fateful night. Polly's 911 call, along with footage from security cameras, painted a clearer picture of the assailant. Although police had amassed some evidence, linking Rainey as a suspect remained a significant challenge. Moreover, the physical evidence could not directly tie Rainey to the shooting, leading to frustration for the Busby family. Despite these challenges, each new piece of information provided a glimmer of hope. The Busby family and law enforcement continued their search for the truth, determined to protect the children from looming threats. Community support and calls from concerned citizens helped apply pressure on the investigation. Ultimately, the investigation led to Melvin Rainey being named the main suspect in the attack. A tense interrogation took place, and witnesses began to speak out. They provided specific details about Rainey's involvement on the night of the shooting. Although they could not officially charge him due to the statute of limitations, the truth was finally uncovered. A crucial breakthrough occurred when Rainey, during questioning, admitted to being involved in the attack. Testimonies from past associates stirred doubts that Rainey orchestrated the whole scheme. In the end, even though Rainey escaped prosecution, the Busby family found a measure of comfort in knowing the truth was confirmed. They understood that John had been right to perceive the danger lurking around him. Their story became a painful lesson in resilience, a fight not only for survival, but for justice. The conclusion of the John Busby case left many unanswered questions. Why were criminals like Rainey able to roam free without facing consequences for their actions? Although the Busby family had found some semblance of peace, they remained haunted by the possibility of lurking threats.